I got very behind with making videos and keeping you all up to date because of the kerfuffle that happened at the full council meeting. I ended up making so many videos on that, I didn't have time to cover some very important stuff, so endeavour to catch up in this video. So we're going to cover meetings from the 28th and 29th of November, and they were on governance and the policy panel. The governance meeting got very intense because it was all about the financial state of the council. So I'm going to do something a little bit different with this video to sort of help lighten the weight of the intense discussion they had about finances. I'm going to intersperse it with clips from the policy panel, and you, the audience, will have to work out which one is which, but you're an intelligent crowd, so I'm sure you'll manage. If you found the salami slicing image confusing, all will become clear. In fact, extra points if you can guess ahead of time how many times that phrase could possibly be said in one video.
Forward that we can't spend as much on the organisation. We are going to have to do less. We're going to have to do less with less.
I just don't think we're getting it. And I don't think with the attitude we've had laid out, I don't think we'll get near to solving these sort of problems. What I think it means is that it's salami slicing. It's a little bit of everything, including our pay. And the unions have, in my view, rightly pulled us up, and we've had to pay. And I support that. But I think it was salami slicing. I think we're salami slicing all over the place, rather than making the decisions we have to make. And I get particularly upset as a numbers man when I hear people saying, oh, well, there's different ways of looking at numbers. And I believe to the bottom of my soul that they're numbers and that they're important and that we need to pay attention to them. We need to get to grips with them properly and stop blaming other people and start looking in the mirror and sorting ourselves out properly.
The Conservative group will have the opportunity to put an alternative budget to council in February if it has an alternative view.
We will do if we can get the information and the access we need, which we're at the moment not getting.
The suggestion that there's just salami slicing going on. Councillor King.
Thank you. If I was in your shoes, I might take the same view. To be blunt, this is about cost reduction. This is about taking cost out and making some hard decisions, not salami slicing. But that's been done before. And I'm not going to say that there won't be some places where it might look like that. This is about fundamental decision making. So the way I want this to work is this is putting the politics for a moment to one side, is about all members feeling that they've got an opportunity to participate, to say what they care most about. Because
equality and diversity and inclusion is very important to us at Colchester City Council. It's very important for us to make sure our colleagues and our communities feel secure in themselves. So we decided to start a new awareness strategy, and part of this awareness strategy was a lunch and learn offering. These lunch and learn, you normally receive a speaker from a charity, preferably a local charity. With EDI, we're looking to teach our staff, identify areas of support, and our first one was autism awareness.
There's a whole conversation around priorities as well. That starts as fast as we can get it to happen. Next week, we'll start that member process, challenge process, which will lead us to the place we need to be. Will lead us to making decisions we do not want to do, we have to make. And will lead us to do it at pace. I'm really determined about this.
We then had a second lunch and learn session, which was based on deaf awareness, which is very well attended as well. We are doing our third session, and it will be on Black history. And obviously, as you can see, turnout for every session has been over 30 people so far. So we're hoping to maintain that.
I'm the person that has the job with my team of making Councillor King's commitments translate into work done and action achieved. So I just want to say several things. I'll keep it brief. First of all, I'm really disturbed and surprised to hear that your access to officers has been restricted. First of all, as a member of the opposition, access to officers has to be limited. There has to be some sort of restriction because of the nature of the way politics works. However, I was confident up until now that you had had sufficient access. If that's not the case, I want to know why. We absolutely do know where we are. That doesn't mean that there aren't some variables that need to be pinned down, but the senior leadership team of this authority is absolutely committed to facing head-on the reality of our medium-term financial position, which is not good. It is deteriorating, and this is deteriorating over the period of the medium-term financial plan. However, we have a plan, and if we were to do absolutely nothing, our future looks bleak. But we are going to do something. We are going to reduce the operating costs of this organisation by 25% over the medium term. That will require radical and fundamental reform of what we do. It will have a dramatic impact on our staff, and they know that. But essentially, the council will, over that period of time, look very, very different so that it can live within its means.
We will be increasing our lunch and learns, hopefully from 4 to 6 each year. They will all be EDI based with an influence on wellbeing, because again, wellbeing is very important in the work that I do. We recently did a wellbeing and EDI survey throughout the council, so this is going to be a fantastic KPI for us. It's going to be something that we will do each year to really gauge how our colleagues are feeling.
EDI, in case you're wondering, is equality, diversity and inclusion. Although if you've seen the cockeyed code of conduct video, you'll know that they need to add a little more inclusion into their inclusion. So, for example, people with views outside of the mainstream that people that haven't done research like to call conspiracy theorists. Perhaps they could give them a training day on how to be respectful and how it's actually hate speech to call people conspiracy theorists and conspiracy cranks. There's one councillor in particular I'm sure would be thrilled to have that included in the training. But anyway, let's get back to other serious pressing matters.
But then we also decided to have a trial of providing sanitary items within our restrooms in Rowan House, which is our hub. And actually it was quite successful. A lot of people were very happy. As many of you know, it's a normal bodily function and it's just as useful to have as toilet paper. And we also introduced a gender-neutral bathroom in the refurbishment of Rowan House, which has been great for those that feel comfortable in that space and not necessarily in a gendered bathroom.
So this next bit is up there, probably with one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard them say with regard to council procedures.
We prepared an alternative budget. It was costed. We had a lot of officers' time to help us do it. When we get to the budget meeting, we have 5 minutes, perhaps 10 minutes to present it, and it can only be done in the form of deleting or adding words to the existing budget which is being proposed by the administration. It is impossible, Chairman, to present an alternative budget for something as complex as this council by means of deleting or inserting words and having 10 minutes to do it. You have to decide whether you want to go on taunting us on not producing a budget, or whether you really do want us to produce a challenge budget.
And we're going to bring to life the death literacy, end of life conversations. So it's that taboo topic that no one wants to talk about. So potentially we could be given our managers within Colchester Council that confidence and expertise and familiarity having those conversations with staff members around loss, around death, but we can permeate those conversations within our communities as well.
There is perhaps a utopian thought that all the disasters in the world, that there's going to be a magic moment somewhere in the MTTF when all this will stop. My view, Chairman, is that that's never going to happen. There are always going to be serious challenges. It doesn't matter whether it's a Conservative, Lib Dem or Labour government. I think there is a limit to the extent we can drive down the number of staff, drive up the performance, improve the efficiency of everything we do. There is a finite limit because we're dealing with human people doing their jobs. They're not robots, they're not automatons.
I accept your premise that we can't continue on this ever-decreasing cycle that we've been going through over the last 10 years without that a major impact on the City Council's ability to deliver. I think I'm slightly more optimistic, though, about what's over the horizon than you appear to be this evening.
The prospect of calm waters is the one thing that keeps me going, actually. But
Oh dear, the calm waters, you're in them now. This is probably as calm as it's going to be. It's the lull before the storm and all that. We're living in a debt bubble, which is going to burst at some point. Who knows how much longer the US dollar can keep limping along, and as soon as that crashes, everything will probably crash. By all means, hope for the best, gentlemen, but prepare for the worst.
Elsewhere. Unfortunately, the majority of councillors don't really get numbers. They don't really have an interest in looking at budgets.
He's not wrong on that. I've seen so many meetings where councillors are suggesting stuff and you think, hang on a minute, have you not seen the accounts? Do you not know what the financial situation of the council is? Surely everybody within that council needs a really good understanding of those figures, whether they want to or not, because they will start to view things differently. They themselves then might start to look for cost-saving measures.
Awareness is completely important when it comes to equality, diversity, inclusion. So everyone will have an Outlook calendar. So we propose that we're going to aim to get that into everyone's calendar. So, when it's Disability Awareness Month, it will show. When it's World AIDS Day, it will show. So even if people don't want to know what the celebration event is, what the awareness day is, it will be visible. It will subconsciously make these people think, oh, actually, I didn't realise it's that day.
Yes, I'm encouraged to hear the determined noises coming from the administration. These are expressions. They're not the hard stuff. It's not there. The salami slicing is so damaging, and it looks very much like sort of a salami slice to death organisation. By one person, we're told we're fine, we're strong. Another one says that we are deteriorating fast. One person says we know where we are. Another person says we don't know where we are because we don't even know what our reserves brought forward are. We're sitting there with no balance sheet, no audited balance sheet since 2020. We don't know where we are. And the future's coming at us fast. And just to take the practical thing about the opposition budget, yes, I'll do it. but I can't do it from the type of public briefings we're having with all councillors there. Minutes. Last time I tried to do it in 5 minutes, I got interrupted halfway through and told that I'd said something politically incorrect, and the whole thing was lost. I sat there absolutely fuming while some opposition councillors giggled. So I'm not doing it again. I'm fed up with it. I need the proper access. I need to be able to see the figures. Please, I'm happy to work with you, and I've got some experience that may or may not be useful, but please don't isolate me and then not pay attention when I come up with something.
We will share everything we've got, William. We will include you as far as you can be included, is all I can say in the time it's available. I'm going to share what I have today as a good illustration of here it is and see it, but it is, from your perspective, I suspect, imperfect.
Under Councillor King's leadership is as open as we can be politically. If you go to the offices, they will give you the time to work on the alternative budget. The finance team, you can work through the chief executive about the other questions. I just want to say they do spend a lot of time working on answers. And those questions you ask are useful, and we appreciate that.
Councillor Corey and King sound very genuine, that they want to give as much information as possible and share and Yet the number of meetings I've seen Councillor Sunnox ask over and over and over again for information so that he can go through it, and he's clearly not getting that information. But because they are seeing, oh, you're the opposition, you're this, you're that, it's almost like watching the Lions go on tour and the English refusing to pass the ball to the Welsh wingers because they're Welsh. It's like, for goodness sake, you have all been elected. You should all be running this council. And yes, people might argue, oh, well, you need an opposition so you can do scrutiny. Actually, members of the public could come in and do scrutiny. I know a lot of people would be very happy to have that role. So if there are people within that council that have that skill set, will you please pass them the ball and let them run with it? But really, politically sensitive information? These are not top secret designs, surely. It's a council. It's politically rather sensitive if you go bankrupt. But to not utilise the talent you have available is nothing short of criminal. And as I say, we've voted for every single last one of you. Will you please just work together? Because when you do, it's beautiful to watch. Even if we don't necessarily agree with your decision making, it's the way forward. How bad does it have to be before you will work together? Is the ship going to be like this, going glug, 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 glug? Oh, actually, would you mind giving us a hand? So we do appreciate that a lot of the debt has come from previous administrations. So, it's not all your fault. No one's saying that. And it is a very diverse business and very difficult. And what you've got ahead of you is you're going to have to be absolutely ruthless. Not to mention paying really close attention to those figures when Councillor Sunnox did finally get some very obvious errors jumped out at him, which the Conservatives raised the following week at the full council meeting. It turned out the items had been wrongly allocated, so that's why it looked like they'd spent millions on ice cream when they hadn't. But the point Councillor Sunnox was trying to make is these things were obvious. They should have jumped out at anyone paying attention. So it is very concerning those mistakes happened in the first place, but even more concerning is that no one picked it up. The Lib Dem administration has apologised for the errors and said that they will put more procedures in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. But as Councillor Sunnox pointed out, these errors should have been really obvious and should have leapt off the page to them as it did him. So it is concerning. It doesn't give us a great deal of confidence that those figures are being properly analysed, and it is impossible to run any business well if you don't know where the money is going. So it does rather make you wonder, has things been wrongly allocated elsewhere? The other point that was raised in the full council meeting, and I'm afraid the audio was missing from the council website, so I do have it, but it's very poor quality. I'll upload it in a separate video and have it unlisted. I'll put the link in below so that you can hear what was said, but basically they were questioning also the need to redact the information. And yeah, as members of the public, why are things redacted? This is public money. Whatever you're doing with it, we should all be able to look at. And this does show how important it is you all work together. So what's happening in the council is just such a reflection of everything that's happening in the world right now. Like, how bad does it have to get before we all start to work together? Before all those silly divisions that society and the media put upon us all, that we all buy into, when are we going to let those go and all work together? When are people going to let go of the anger and frustration and just see that we've got to sort this out? So does history have to be on such a permanent loop? Or can we say, okay, we can see it's going that way, let's come up with something better? Because if you think about it, it's people that make things work. So why are we investing all our time and energy into horrible corporations? Why are we not just getting on and doing and helping one another and creating communities where we all look after each other? I see it happening locally a lot with the groups that I know. People just, if anyone needs help with something, whoever has that skill set just goes and helps them and does it. It's not a bartering system. People are just seeing the state of everything and people are just helping. And it gives you hope when you see people shedding that ego self and just pulling together because they can see we need to do this together. The potential, we have so much potential between us all. But there's so many barriers, and the politics are a barrier. The anger is a barrier that we could change in a heartbeat if we chose, but we don't seem to be going down that route. So how bad is it going to have to get before we all pull together? So let's end on a positive note and appreciate a couple of small successes the council has had.
So just a few successes. So the removal of a carers fee at all events held by the organisation. We used to charge about 50% of a normal ticket for carers to attend that requires the carer, which again is making events more inaccessible for people that want to attend.
And I'm delighted to say we achieved our dementia-friendly status and we got that confirmed. So congratulations to the council.